in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Incoming!
Welcome to the Omnic Lab. We're a podcast that focuses on the game Overwatch and specifically the strategies in the game of Overwatch. We'll learn through trial and error, just like the scientific method, even if things get a bit crazy and potentially blow up sometimes. We're here to brew up some team comp strategies. We stir in some tips here and there to help you play better and hopefully equip you, the listener, with the instruments that you need to gain the strategy. And you know what I'm going to say. The strategic edge to gain. Yes, you get it.
Intro.
Today, intro. That's what we're going to do next week. All right, so today we're going to discuss player advantages in solo queue. We have a few updates in news, but we're going to talk about our solo queue top 3 picks right now. I'm your host, Rob May, and joining me as always is Andres Gomez, music mixer extraordinaire.
What's up, Rob? We need
What's
to.
up?
I feel like we're gonna have to do a shorter intro. It's just too many words. It's too easy to falter in it.
That's why we wrote it down, and I still screwed up.
It is the same intro for the past dozen episodes.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll get it right next time, we promise, guys. But it's good to be here. It's a great Overwatch week. I've been playing a ton of Overwatch, almost a little too much, because as we all know, this week things got real. Things got very serious in the Overwatch realm because
How's that?
competitive mode came out. I don't know if you heard.
It came out also, spoiler alert, for Xbox as of 3 hours before we started.
Nice. I thought it was coming out
an official
next
blue
week.
post on that. Well, they estimated it should be out sometime next week, but apparently Xbox approved it, and PlayStation guys are still waiting on the approval process.
Oh, there you go. I guess Microsoft wanted to expedite that process and gave Blizzard the green light a little sooner. That's kind of nice.
Yep.
Good for you, Blizzard and Xbox.
Also, in other news, the Loot Gaming crate came out that I haven't really mentioned this before, but I got a Loot Gaming crate because it was featured Team Fortress 2, Street Fighter 5, and Overwatch. And let me show you. If you guys are on video, you get this, but this is a Funko Pop figure of Tracer, but it's not just your average Tracer. This has green goggles and the black and green epic skin equipped on her. And it looks amazing.
Nice.
And it's an exclusive with Loot Gaming. So if you guys want to find it, I would suggest hopping on eBay or seeing if you can scrounge around to see if there's any extra ones from Loot Gaming.
I'm glad I'm not a collector of those, or I'll be pretty bad.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not a collector either. All the ones that I currently own have come through a couple Loot Crate exclusives, so I got the lucky ones, I guess.
I guess if you're a collector of those, you are probably signed up into Loot Crate or some sort of those things.
Yeah. All right, so let's start this week with what we're testing before we go to the news on. We'll mix it up a little bit.
Sure.
So let's start with you. What have you been playing this week? And we both been playing competitive for sure. But...
Yeah, this week has been a little different. Unfortunately, the team that we've been playing for or with this whole time has not been together this week, which has been super unfortunate because this week was kind of when we were hoping everyone was going to be there and we could jump in as a sixth group that had been practice and stuff all together.
Right.
But we've been short, so we've been having to either play with randoms, with people in the solo queue, or just bring in other people. But sometimes the ringers that we're bringing in or the randos are not used to playing the heroes that we've been trying out. So I've been having to fill in a lot, which I don't mind, honestly. I'm playing other heroes, so I've been playing a lot of Zarya.
Diversifies your pick, right?
Yeah, Zarya has been kind of my go-to pick lately, especially with all the randos and stuff. It's just such a well-rounded pick, and as long as you have another tank with you, like a Reinhardt, or sometimes even just by yourself, depending on the matchup, you can do a lot for your team. So I've been practicing her a lot. Also, Pharah. After the McCree nerf, I think Pharah and Soldier have been seeing a rise in the metagame, and Pharah is super strong right now, especially like the players who know how to use her really well are really
Oh, yeah.
shining. So trying to get it a lot better with her. I was already pretty
Use that
decent.
concussive shot for like this crazy spacing techniques that I would have never thought to use. I was watching Seagull play her the other day, and it was
Oh
just
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I love seeing the pros use the concussion grenade or shot that she has. I've seen them use it very offensively when they're about to ult to position themselves really fast. It's pretty impressive
Oh.
when you see him do it. But yeah, Farah, a lot of potential. Been trying to like hone my game with her, and I'm working on my golden peacekeeper with McCree, my golden gun. I got
There
like
you go.
19 rank points or something, so nowhere near, but working on it.
I don't even know if I broke 10 yet. I know that I would have had to have. I think I'm just around a 10 to a 12, but yeah, for me, I've been actually getting the opportunity to practice with some quick matches with Hanzo, who I think we actually tried this last week a little bit, but we didn't say anything on the show, where we've been doing the Hanzo Zarya Wombo combo, and we've also been trying that with like Pharah, but it's been working pretty well. I've found that it's really hard to position Hanzo properly in a lot of these maps, but he really excels on pushing payload, I think, on a couple stuff. But again, it's so mechanical dependent for if you're playing Hanzo a lot of the times.
For sure.
And then
I think
yeah.
he's got a lot of popularity now that Zarya has seen a lot more play. Like Zarya, her ult and Hanzo's ult together are really
really
strong.
deadly.
And his ult charges up really fast. So if you can
Yeah,
land
it
those
does.
arrows constantly, Hanzo can put out a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like that's just the dragon for zoning is so valuable. Like a lot of times I'll put the dragon only on one person because that eliminates that essential like enter and exit point for the opponents. If they can't get out in time, they're either dead or they can't use that, and you funnel them to
Yep.
another location. So yeah, then I tried playing some Zarya myself and have been really enjoying her, but it's really hard when you're kind of got some teammates that aren't positioning properly for you to utilize the bubbles. So she's a little match dependent. She's definitely far better at attack than defense on a lot of maps, and then King of the Hill, she's usually really good.
Mhm.
And then obviously the update for Mercy play is Andres has actually been trying to help me personally on positioning Mercy properly, and changing your positioning patterns based off of if you have the res or not is really difficult. And then knowing when to whip out that pistol is
Yeah,
super.
I think it is difficult, especially nowadays that people have gotten used to playing against Mercies and they know they have to focus her. I feel sorry sometimes for people who are playing a lot of Mercy because they have like this big red target on their head and everyone is trying to kill them. So basically, the name of the game for Mercy becomes how to evade all this mayhem that is coming at them, and it's not easy. You can fly to different locations and it's a skill that you need to develop, but then like you have to be very aware of where everyone is, and you're also hoping that your team kind of stays around the same area but separate enough
Yeah.
that you can kind of like rotate around them. But
Yeah,
it's
you really have to
definitely
learn to play with a Mercy as well as learn how to play Mercy properly, because you adjust based off of your team a lot of the times.
for sure.
You want to share one more tip on that you told me last night about playing with a Pharah at Mercy?
Oh, sure. I think a lot of people know this one, especially if you've been playing Mercy for a little bit. But Pharah and Mercy are really good paired together because it allows Mercy to be kind of in the middle of the fray, and then if she really needs an escape route, she can always fly to Pharah pretty much at any time, neglecting a lot of heroes like if Reinhardt is beside you or a Tracer or Junkrat, you kind of like get out of harm's way really easily. So I've seen a lot of like Mercy Pharah combos lately, just because of it gives Mercy that extra edge and mobility, the verticality of it, and you don't necessarily need to be on top of a building. You can just fly anywhere, and then assess the battlefield from up top, right? Like you're falling really
Right.
slowly, so you can just look down, see where everyone needs, see where it's needed, and then you can also kind of like gauge where it should not go because it's too dangerous. A lot of vision
Absolutely.
up there.
Okay. With that being said, let's jump into our news section. So today in our news, we have quite a bit of things, but Andres and I have been tirelessly working on making the news section both pertinent and not necessarily like a half of the show segment. So this week, we're going to give you more or less links and less discussion on the news, but rather kind of if there's commentary that needs to come out of it, we're going to kind of discuss it, but then we're going to move on to the next thing instead of discussing the news in depth. Okay. So the first bit of news is something that actually will generate a little bit of discussion in that Torbjorn has received a damage reduction nerf by 30% on his turrets for consoles only. And this change is due, I think they said this is due mid-July. Is that correct? From what you've heard?
I thought he was coming out with the competitive patch for consoles, but don't quote me on it. That's what I have heard, and that's what I thought they were going to do.
Yeah, I'll pull up in the competitive mode, but Andres, what do you think about this change while I'm pulling this up?
I think it was definitely needed. It was obvious that Torbjorn was a little too strong in the console version just because the turret has insta lock and it has perfect aim, right? Like it doesn't miss a shot. And that is easy to counteract on the PC version where your precision with the mouse allows you to hit the turret really fast and kind of like dodge it. Like you can poke with Pharah or any of those heroes, but in the console version it's a lot harder to do, right? It's not as easy as just taking a Widowmaker and like or a Pharah flying in the sky and targeting at it. Like if you're really good with the controller, you might be able to do it. But if you're not that good with it or just decent enough, it becomes like a really hard task to do, especially trying to coordinate your team. And my feeling is that on the consoles there's even more like solo queue players than like team players, right? Because it's not as easy to group up. So turrets tend to be a lot stronger in that realm. I think it's a good change.
For sure, for sure. So I like this change, and I just pulled up in the patch notes for Overwatch's Xbox One update. And we're going to skip down to talking about that now, but I'll throw this in the chat for those of you watching live. But basically, all they're doing is they're improving a lot of the features with the legacy gamepad feature, as well as overall gamepad improvements for playing on a controller. And then they're making live the changes for Widowmaker, McCree, and then they're introducing competitive mode. So basically, like the last 2.5 patches that we've gotten are then going over to Xbox as of today.
So
we've already discussed those at length, so I don't think we need to.
This is probably the first patch that really differentiates consoles from PC, right? Because aside from that, everything is pretty much the same.
Well, overall, the gamepad improvements had hit PC recently, but I don't know if they were as extensive as this one was for Xbox. This might have a few Xbox nuances.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure that the PlayStation Network is going to be getting one for their PS4 as well.
We'll see.
As for competitive play, that is coming supposedly between like we said next week. So I'll give you specific dates if you're listening to the podcast and it's a different day than when we record this. It's actually July 4th through July 8th is the dates of next week, and I'm guesstimating that is a Monday through Friday release. So if it doesn't happen, my predictions are wrong, but I'm guessing that's where it was. And the competitive play released on PC on June 28th. Moving right along, the summer season is going to last from June 28th to roughly August 18th. And this is only a 2-month season instead of a 2.5 month, like we had previously stated, because they wanted to make this one a little bit shorter in order to potentially work out some kinks with this one and make the next season, the next fall season, even better.
Yeah, they're making crunch time over here, dude. Only 2 months?
And I've even... Sorry, Andres, I cut you off again.
No, sorry, I was going to say only 2 months. They're going to make me play a ton of games for that Golden Peacekeeper.
Yeah, it makes us wonder because Blizzard still hasn't given us any word for what's going to happen at the end of the season. Like if they're going to give us something besides, finishing at the top 500 level. Are they going to give us a chunk of points for finishing at X ranks, like we had discussed last week? I would like to see them do something like that.
So far, they've only announced the spray and the animated spray for the top tier of people. So I know that
And
you're
then
getting
the player
that.
icons.
Yeah, and the player icons. So I know that you're getting that for participating in competitive play, and you're getting the animated spray, which looks pretty cool. I'm excited to see
Looks
what
really
what they do with those things a little more. But I don't know if they're gonna give you a chunk of points. My guess is that they will, because my guess is that the people who end up at the very top are gonna be able to buy several golden guns at once, at least 2 or 3.
I would think that they would at least be able to buy the golden gun that they want right away
Yeah,
after this
I mean, if you
ends.
think about it, you're gonna be able to buy your golden gun just by winning 300 games, right? If you just play 300 games and you win them, you're gonna get it. Which in two
Yeah, but you got
months,
to think about that from like like a 50-50 win rate. That means that you've got to play 600 games and 300 of them win.
yeah. Although in 3 months, that if you're playing constantly, if this is your game and you kind of play it at least a little bit every day, you should be able to get one golden gun.
Yeah, I would be interested to do some more calculations on that to get some hard numbers.
Yeah,
as like
somebody in
5
Reddit
days
will
of
do it. I
speed and
know
stuff. Somebody in
Blackbird,
Reddit will do it for
yeah,
sure.
Blackbird, one of our patrons, was already kind of like crunching some numbers on the Omnic Lab Discord. It was a good discussion. So we'll see. I don't think there's enough information or enough data to like really know or really
Yeah.
make the math completely right. But from his estimations already, yeah, he was already talking about like 600 games or stuff like that for pros to even get to the top of the ladder. So we'll see.
Yeah, just to rank 100, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous. And that is with like unheard of win rates too.
Yeah.
So I've also put in some more things. There's an in-client detail to the official patch notes I put into the for PC at least. I put into our show notes as well as a guesstimate for competitive fall. I know this is really forward-looking, but I'm guessing it's going to be around September 6th, just because we have that 2-week break that they said between the end of August and the beginning of September before we get competitive season 2.
That's about right.
And there is a new change that I just found out about today that has been in since the patch on the 28th. But if you make a basketball shot, it has confetti exploding and cheering inside of the starter pod. And I
Jesus,
just put a link in
finally.
chat.
This
It's
is
so cool.
this is what the game really needed. Thank you, Blizzard.
Play of the game.
It should honestly, it should be allowed to be the play of the game. Like if there's no other play of the game that's good and somebody made the basketball,
Yeah.
that should win play of the game.
I would want to have that on my highlight reel. Especially imagine like the highlight reels coming out where people get really pro at this and they get like 3 of them before the gate opens. That would be nuts.
The other thing I was gonna say is this is super awesome because I feel like there's not gonna be any more like doubt or like any more like, hey, I made this, and other people being like screenshot or it never happened. No, you can be like, no, I did it. Check it out. There's confetti flowing all over the place.
The noise will signal you well before you see the confetti. It's super loud.
Now, really, the
Everybody
problem
knows.
is everyone is gonna be trying to make that shot.
Yeah, and then there are gonna be people like me who play Mercy who just run up to the basketball and whack it out of the way,
Yeah,
so
just
not
punch it
everything's
into
falling
it.
through
Oh my god, I hate those people. You're one of those.
Yeah, I just think it's funny to troll everybody and like whack the ball out so that you don't have a chance to do it. Because a lot of times the Junkrat will sit in there try to like throw in his mines and stuff on it. I'm just like, dude, stop.
You gotta punch it. That's what I do. I line myself up and I melee the basketball. Check it in.
Give her a whack.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do with the Caduceus staff, I might add, because it has a little bit of spin when you hit it with the edge of the staff. It's kind of weird. All right, let's take a moment to thank our patrons real quick over at patreon.com/Omnic Lab. So we have our 3 special scientist level supporters, which I just got word from Patreon this week that the Patreon client will be billing you on July 1st. So if you want to get to that next upgrade on your Patreon to get some sweet perks, you better do that before the 1st, and then you'll get billed, and then we'll start rolling out those rewards that next week after the 4th of July weekend once we get paid. So special thanks to Brian K., Mr. Wonderful himself, Blackbird, Stat Checker, and Eric S. for your unbelievable levels of support. And Andres, we have 3 more new patrons this week. You want to read off for us?
Absolutely. Our new patrons this week is Chris C, Mike S, and Chris S. We'll keep those last names anonymous just to protect your identities. We don't want, the bad guys knowing where you guys are or who you guys are.
Gotta make sure those McCrees don't chase you down.
Exactly.
All right. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let's get into the top 3 solo queue all-stars. Let's do it. All right, Andres, I'm going to pass the torch. Who are our 3 picks for solo queue?
All right. Before I say who our 3 picks are, I just want to make a little disclaimer because I know as soon as I say these names, that everyone who's listening to this is going to be like, what are you talking about? What about this guy and this guy? This guy is obviously the best solo queue hero. I can destroy that whole enemy team with it. But hear me out. Hear me out. There's a reasoning. There's a method behind my madness. This is why I think these are the top 3 solo queue heroes. So when you're queuing up by yourself, if you pick one of these heroes, you have the option of influencing the battlefield the most. What I mean by this is these heroes can fill almost any role in the game in a pinch.
They have a holistic approach to what they can do function-wise.
Exactly. They can't fill every role super efficiently, but they can do it to a certain extent. Plus, they can usually do the role that they're meant to do really well. So here it goes. Top 3, drum roll.
Number 1.
Well, here it goes. In no order whatsoever. I'm just gonna say him. Zarya, Soldier 76, and Lucio. Repeat. Zarya, Soldier, and Lucio. Top 3.
All the Mercy players go and cry in the corner.
Right now, all the Genjis are coming out from the corner, and all the Widowmakers.
I can do everything.
What are you talking about? I can carry these team by myself. I don't need anyone else. And yes, a really good Widowmaker, a really good Genji can destroy the enemy team and carry the entire team by themselves. But
our chat is going bananas right now. They're like, no.
What I was gonna say is, you have to be absurdly good at one of these heroes, and the enemy team has to be bad at shutting you down for them to be able to carry the team by themselves. So let's go through some of the points of why I think Zarya, Soldier, and Lucio are the top 3 solo queue heroes. First
I'll be the devil's advocate for Andres.
All right, you be the Genji player.
I'll be that Genji Mercy and Roadhog player for you guys.
All right. First of all, these heroes have sustain and protection, not only for themselves, but for the entire team. Lucio has a team-wide heal. As long as he's around the people and in the same line of sight, you'll be healing them. And you also have an ultimate that shields your entire team for an absurd amount of health. Zarya can shield herself, and she can also shield her allies. And not to count that half of her health, or more than half of her health, is shields, which self-regenerate by themselves.
After not taking damage for 4 seconds.
Yes, and Soldier 76 has a great emergency heal that is large enough to heal him and anyone who's immediately around him. And it's like a substantial heal. You can top off a tank with this stuff if you throw it right next to them. You can definitely top yourself off more than one time with it. I don't know exactly how much it heals, but it's a very significant amount. So these heroes provide your team, and they provide themselves with the great ability of sustain. They can be in the battlefield for a very, very long time if you play them right. If you know when to poke out and when to come back a little bit, you'll be alive for a very long time, and you can also keep your allies alive for a very long time.
All right, so let's do the counters for sustain and protection. So I'll start out with my Lucio counter with playing Mercy. Mercy has a self-healing mechanic built in that's not shields, but is a large boost to heal over time for not taking damage. And she has equal mobility. I will not say better than Lucio because you're team dependent on your mobility for playing Mercy. And Mercy also can damage boost your allies instead of providing a static damage pressure like Lucio in the sustainability damage. She can also sustain damage by damage boosting. All right, so Andres, what is your rebuttal there?
Well, my rebuttal here, I guess, would be, let's go to the next reason of why these heroes are the all-stars. Because yes, Mercy can provide that for her team, and she can do it really well. She can provide a ton of sustain, but there is something that these heroes can provide that Mercy can't, and that is damage pressure. These three heroes by themselves, not needing anyone else, can provide a substantial amount of pressure. For example, Lucio, he provides a ton of what I call bullet fodder or just spam. He's able to spam constantly towards an area, and his little googly balls that fly in the air fly out.
Keeping the meme alive.
Yeah. Those things fly forever. They have like no damage fall off, and they keep going on for like a very long time. So as long as you have a Lucio, you can keep spamming in the general area, and it creates like this bullet spam where like the enemy team can't just simply stand there, right, and just block you off. It's like a constant, hey, we're damaging, and even though his damage is low, it's very like spammy and annoying, and it's enough to where you could take somebody down who is like at low health, or just take him down by just simply firing in a general direction rather than like being like super precise on McCree. Zarya is the same. She can provide a ton of damage at close and medium range, and that damage can become super insane like the more energy she has. Like
more that she's protecting innately, the more damage she's been able to do.
Yeah, exactly. At one point, you become like a very, very efficient damage dealer. Like when she's fully charged or at above 80% charge, like be careful being around her, because those
any Zarya that's at least 50% charge can solo any other damage dealer, and then if she's like above 60 to 80, she's gonna be like blowing people up like worse than a Junkrat.
Yeah, she's fearful, man, or fearsome when she's charged up. And Soldier 76, I mean, what can we say about him? He is simply
Hit
like
scan.
one of the most like consistent damage dealers in the entire game. He can deal damage at close, medium, and long range, no problem. As long as you can aim with him, you will be doing a ton of damage. And because he has such a high versatility on his range, he can put pressure at all distances. His clip is large enough too that he creates like that bullet spam that Lucio can create. So
his reload timer is also ridiculous.
yeah, and super low. So but you're basically never have to stop shooting, and you can always keep a relatively safe distance depending on what hero you're shooting at.
And he has burst for his pressure as well, which makes that very reliable Helix rocket amazing for you. Like,
yeah,
you can outburst pretty much anybody, or sorry, not outburst. You can go toe to toe with any burst hero when you have Helix rocket off your cooldown.
Yeah, and you might be able to say too, like, hey, but what about Mercy? She can damage boost any hero and put a ton of pressure with them too. But at that point, you're relying on another hero to do the job for you. And yes, you could whip out your pistol and do damage yourself, but then at that point you're neglecting the whole reason of why you're there, right? You're there to like heal your team and keep them alive. There are times where it is pertinent for you to pull out your pistol, but most of the time you have to make a choice of, I am dealing damage or I am healing my team. While these other heroes can do both of these roles pretty much simultaneously without sacrificing one or the other.
So let's bring in Roadhog then for another counterpoint. All right, so Roadhog could arguably go into the sustainability and protection strategy, because the hook can pull anybody out of a sticky situation by hooking a high damage character onto Roadhog, considered that the skill is there to do so. And he provides his own self-sustain with that ridiculous gas heal that he has up on cooldown for a very short amount of time. He has a knockback ultimate to go along with that. So what sets Zarya apart from Roadhog in that respect, so that she is that much better than Roadhog when you're trying to fulfill that tank role?
I think the main point there is that, one, Zarya can shield herself as well as an ally, while Roadhog, you said it yourself, has a self heal, which allows him to stay alive, but provides no immediate use for anyone else in your team. Um, Zarya, for example, can be really, really good at protecting any of the heroes that are about to like do a big play, right? Like your Pharah flies up in the air and rains from above, but she is super vulnerable pretty much to everyone because she's like in the middle of the enemy team. You can shield the Pharah there, but you wouldn't be able to do anything with Roadhog aside from just kind of like watching your Pharah do her thing up in the sky.
Yeah.
Same with Soldier or Lucio. Even Soldier, his heal heals himself, but you can also drop the heal to heal anyone else in your team. One of your supports that is hurt, any other DPS, or even the tank in the middle of like the objective or the payload. You can throw that in, and everyone who's there gets healed. Roadhog has a lot of self-sustain, but he's kind of greedy, right? He's kind of like, I'm just gonna keep myself alive. You guys kind of figure it out on your own.
Right. And again, like Andres and I are just kind of going back and forth on our top 3, not to say that the characters that I'm bringing up in the Devil's Advocate section are irrelevant. I think that they are relevant, and given that you go into solo queue and these 3 are kind of there already, you might actually consider maybe those counterpoints of saying, okay, so they mentioned that these guys were also up on the list and offer similar things, so maybe I should pick one of them to go along with our top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Just remember that this list is based on the heroes that can do as much of everything that your team needs as possible. Obviously there are
Roadhog would fit that niche role, right?
Yeah, there are other heroes that are absolutely amazing at very specific roles or very specific uses, but tend to be not as all around. These kind of tend to be more well rounded, but sometimes they're not as specific. For example, well, let's move on, and this is a good example for the next point.
Let's move on, yeah.
Another thing that these heroes have going on for themselves and why they're so good as solo queue heroes is their high mobility. And I say this with a caveat because Zarya, you might be like, what are you talking about high mobility over here? But
you're crazy.
But let me go into it. The most obvious one, obviously, is Lucio. He has a wall ride and a speed boost. This basically makes him into a semi-Genji because you're able to run around really, really fast, faster than most other heroes. And not only that, but you speed boost everyone else around you. And if you're using your E, it's like a very, very significant speed boost. It's great for engaging, is great for getting away, is great for chasing down heroes. Not only that, but if you pair that with his ability to wall ride, you can basically get anywhere in the map as long as you have some practice with it.
And that shotgun blast is ridiculous spacing tool.
Yeah, and he has his shotgun blast, which allows him to even like move other heroes. So lots of possibilities to position yourself to help position your team as well. Soldier 76 is similar in the sense that he has a sprint, so it allows him to run faster than pretty much every hero unless they're being boosted by Lucio. Which allows you to reposition yourself or just like get it around the fray really fast, dodge a lot of things and get out of the harm's way or chase down heroes really easily. Not only that, but he has a rocket jump, and really good Soldier 76 or Soldier 76s learn how to use this rocket jump to get it into places of the map that you usually wouldn't be able to get with just like your regular jump. Zarya has this ability too, and there's a ton of videos out there of people who have spent way too much time playing around with Zarya on these maps, and they do this crazy
really tricky
rocket jumps. Yeah, I would say that with her it's probably like the most skill intensive kind of type of mobility. But if you become really good with these heroes, you can find your way around the map and catch people by surprise or be able to get away with like routes that would normally not be able to be done. But anyway, most of them offer a really high mobility, mainly Lucio and Soldier 76, which can be super, super important when you're trying to achieve things in certain places of the map.
Yeah, I'm actually ready to go ahead and move on after this because I feel like the powerful ult section I have a little bit more to go along with than high mobility. and not just to like anguish Andres about the obvious pick that Zarya actually doesn't have any mobility for this section. So let's just move on to that.
Although
Powerful
she
section
trades some of her mobility in the sense that
for utility.
she's very hard to kill. So you can peruse or you can get into the middle of the battlefield with her and still come out alive or still come out on the other side if you're playing her right.
I think she trades it for her ult, which is why I wanted to move on. But
Yeah, and that too.
her
And
ult is ridiculous.
let's move on to their ultimates. Both of these three heroes, their ultimates are super versatile. Like there's a lot of ultimates in the game which have very like specific uses. But these can be used both proactively and reactively in the sense that you can use this for attack or for defense in a pinch, whatever you need. Lucio can be used to buff up your team when you're about to engage in an attack, or you can use to protect your team when you're getting jumped on by the enemy team. Zarya is the same thing. It can completely group up the enemy team so that your team can destroy them and you can push for the payload or for the point, as well as it can block off an entire area. For example, if you're trying to defend those last 15 seconds and you know the enemy team is about to do a super big push, you can throw that into whatever door they're coming in from and basically just deny entrance to anyone there.
I want to throw some more fuel on this too. I just saw a video today that you can, if you're on Lijiang Tower, where they have the little moat and the tower in the center. Do you know what I'm talking about, Andres?
Yeah, but your mic is like
okay?
really like crunching up right now. You sound like a robot. So scary.
All right, I'm going to pause my recording on my end and then just come back.
All right. In the meantime, I guess I'll keep discussing some of these ults because these things are super powerful. Soldier 76 can do something similar too. You can use his ult to push in to an area. If your team is ready to engage, you can just set up your ultimate and kind of like rush in there, basically making the whole enemy team retreat. Or you can use this defensively too. If that tracer is harassing your backline and your healer needs a peel or something, you can just turn around, use that. Or where the enemy team is preparing to do the push, you can use that immediately and use it as a deterrent so the enemy team kind of has to split up or get destroyed at that time. Both of these three ults are super versatile, and some of the other ults in the game, for example, Widowmaker, it can be great to provide your team with a ton of vision, both for engaging and for defending. But unfortunately, it doesn't provide like much protection if you're like already in the middle of the fray, right? If you're already seeing them in the front of you and they're already attacking you, that ultimate is not gonna do much for you guys at that point. So
yeah,
same with Genji, like his sword can be so good, but you kind of need somebody else to like set it up for you because you can't just go into the middle of them and start like sorting away. You'll just get killed really easily.
Generally speaking, I would agree with you, but once you get up to those higher skill ratings, you'll see Genjis just go ape on people.
Yep,
yeah,
I agree. It's a good ult, but it's not as versatile.
Right. There's this spot on Lijiang Tower with Zarya's ult that you can shoot. That's basically that wall. You know how there's a bridge on both sides? There's the bridge side, and then there's the inside building on the left. If you're on offense on one side or the other, it'll depend on which side the building is. But if you go and you shoot Zarya's ult, it can actually stick into the wall that is light of sighting, and it will pull all of the enemy team from the bridge and the edge of the moat, as it were, into that ult, and then drop them in the ocean.
Oh, nice.
And I saw this today. It was really cool strategy. So if you guys are trying to learn Zarya and you can time it well, or you have maybe a Widow ult or a Hanzo arrow or something telling you where those guys are at, you should definitely try that. Very cool stuff.
The last thing I want to say about these ults is that they set up your team for success. The whole point of these ults is that they are not only making you shine. Like for example, Genji is kind of like a greedy ult by itself. you need some setup from your team sometimes. Or if you're absolutely a monster with Genji, then yeah, maybe you can pull it off and kill like 2, 3 people, maybe more than that, or team wipe. But you need to be a monster with him. And most of the time, you need like Reinhardt to Earth Shatter, or even like a Zarya to ultimate for you, so you can actually get full use of that ultimate. The ultimates that these guys provide, it's almost like they
It
allow other,
enables your team for
yeah, they allow
success.
other heroes to shine, to make the most use out of their abilities and this sort of thing, being more of a team player than other ults can be.
Yeah, especially Lucio with like speed boosting and giving your team that huge shield that basically just tells your team, hey, we're going whether you like it or not. Let's go. And Zarya is like, hey, if you want to get POTG, you're going to click here. And if Zarya is going in solo and has, 60 to 80 to 100 of her charge, she's probably going to burn her ult on 3 people just to kill them herself because she can do it with that much energy.
Yeah.
And then 76 can literally just flank the opposing team and kill 4 in like one clip. So it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, with this ult, you just have to activate it, and you can just run into an area willy-nilly. You don't have to like really aim at anything. You can kind of focus more on what they're shooting at you and what places you should be hiding or how you should be moving, because you don't have to really care about your aim. So it's really strong pair up, especially with his great mobility. And the last point that I want to make, basically, it takes all of these points that we already made, and is the reason why they're so good too, is the ability of these heroes to contest objectives. Because all of the reasons we already talked, the sustain they offer to the team, the damage output that they can put out, the mobility, the great ultimates that they possess, it allows them to really be the guys who can get down there into the payload or jump into the objective or be in the middle of the king of the hill point and like stand there and be like, we're gonna take this. We're the people who will take this point
Lucio's
from you guys.
unofficial title is King of the Hill.
Lucio's unofficial title is Neo from the Matrix, because that guy dodges more bullets than anyone I've ever seen.
Hello, Mr. Smith. That would be what you should do if you're a Lucio main, is use your free BattleNet name change your name change to Hello, Mr. Smith. Or Neon or Neo, like, or you can even make it fun and just call yourself straight up Neo.
No, seriously, Lucio is a good example of like a person that can really contest an objective. Especially, just watch a Lucio dance around the payload, especially a good Lucio that is just like jumping everywhere, moving with accelerated speed. Spider Lucios, some people call them. They are so hard to hit. As a McCree main, Lucio is probably like one of the hardest heroes to kill, because he's moving erratically all over the place, and it's just so hard to get a few like consecutive hits on him, because that's the other thing. You can get a hit on him eventually, but then he just activates his heal and starts healing by himself, and by the time you nail another hit on him, he's healed enough so that you can't kill him. You have to land like 2 headshots in consecutive hits.
Or Roadhog hook.
Yeah, exactly. And even sometimes you hook Lucio with Roadhog, he is so small that he can bump you away and just run away.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why I call him Neo. So same with Zarya. Zarya, her ability to shield herself and then poke and then come back into like a protected space, let her shield health regenerate, and then come back out into the battlefield. Like, you can keep doing this over and over and kind of like run your opponent dry, and then once you have enough energy, then you can really go in there and cause some mayhem with your ultimate.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but these heroes, like you said it before, they incentivize the rest of the team to join them because of what they have to offer to the rest of the team. So Lucio, you want to be around the Lucio, 1, because he's healing you, 2, because he's granting you a ton of speed boost. So wherever Lucio goes, is more than likely that your team will follow. Same with Zarya. If you're like playing a good Zarya and you're shielding your teammates, you're carrying the payload, you're up there in the front line creating a lot of pressure, your team will be kind of gravitated towards you, pun intended. And same, like, you have your ultimate, which is so powerful that if if the rest of your team has some idea of how to play Overwatch, they're gonna be waiting for you to use that ult and salivating, right? Like Farah's gonna be there with
Do
her
you have
ult
your ultimate
ready.
yet?
Yeah, they're gonna be spamming chat like Saria, you ready? You ready?
They're gonna be like those little kids on the way to Disney World. Like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there?
Pretty much, like everyone
When's the
is just,
graviton surge coming?
everyone's just waiting for you because they know that as soon as you do that ultimate, that's like play of the game material for any of them. So it's kind of like these
Want to
heroes.
use
These
you.
heroes want to be around you. When you're playing Zarya, not so much Soldier sometimes, but Zarya and Lucia can really do this. And everyone loves a Soldier in their team because it's so much constant pressure. It's also emergency heals for them. And it's just a solid, well-rounded character that no matter what the enemy team picks, you know that Soldier will be able to do some damage to them.
Yeah, and I even found out this week. I know that we had discussed this on a previous episode, like when we were featuring our offensive heroes, Andres. But I'm been hearing Joshy and a few other pros saying that Soldier is a hit scan.
Yes, the more I have played it, I have realized that even though you see a little blue bullet kind of like traveling around,
It's instant, yeah.
it is instant. Yes, it is. It is totally a hit scan hero. So I thought it was just
Same.
like really fast travel time, but no, it's all hit scan. So if you're good at hit
Except for
scanning,
the Helix rocket. I think that's the only thing that's not hit scan.
yeah, that is projectile.
Okay.
Another
But-
little tip with Soldier that I saw this week is you can basically avoid all of his recoil as long as you're doing only burst of 4 shots. So if you're doing 4 shots, 4 shots, 4 shots, and kind of like letting your mouse go after that 4th shot, you will always hit in the middle of the reticle,
The
basically
crosshair.
having no recoil. And if you practice this enough, you can do it to the point where it looks like you're not even stopping. It just looks like like if you were just holding the mouse down.
Yeah, definitely go into the practice range and try this out because you'll be able to get a gauge on the range and on when your shots start fraying. Because you can even do what Andres is saying and go a little bit further. The spread will gradually get larger the more rounds you do. So you can even fine tune that by just letting off of your mouse cursor periodically.
Yeah, and this is especially useful when you're firing at long range. If you can see heroes at a long range, you can basically put bullets exactly where they are. Like you can snipe widows down or turrets down with this technique, or any static target, a bastion or anything like that. And then when you're at close range, his spread is not necessarily super big, so you can actually just hold it down if you're firing a roadhog or a tank at medium to close range. But it's very useful, yeah, when you're firing at long range and you want to be really precise with him. Little pro trick there.
And then one more, I'm not sure if we've mentioned on the show before, but definitely if you're able to flank somebody and not have them see you when you're flanking, and you can delete them without your ultimate when it's up, you can actually instantly reload the rest of your clip when you use your ultimate on Soldier. So what I like to do when I'm playing him is get in behind them when I have my ult, start shooting them through most of my clip, and then hit the auto, what is it called? The
Q? The
aimbot.
Yeah.
The aimbot. You can start the aimbot, and as soon as he reaches for his mask and hits the click button, then you're all ready to go for your ultimate. You don't have to reload. It'll be reloaded for you.
There you go.
All right, Andres, why don't you talk about our hero straw poll one more time before we move on?
Yeah, just to close out our discussion, we still have our hero straw poll going on. We want to dedicate an episode to a specific hero. For now, we have chosen 5 that we feel really comfortable discussing and talking about. The poll is still up. We will probably close the poll by Sunday night at the latest, so that it will give us a little time to work on the episode and bring you guys something that is worthwhile for everyone. But yeah, if you're interested in participating and want your voice heard, you want us to discuss your favorite hero, just head on to the link that is on the show notes. We have also been tweeting the link, and the straw poll is also posted in our Discord, so you can check it out over there if you're trying to find it. We would love to know what you guys want to hear about. It helps us kind of guide the episode. And we will probably be doing this on the next week. It'll be our first in-depth hero analysis.
I'm really excited about this because two of the heroes that are at the top were heroes that Andres and I didn't vote for. So it's going to give us a chance to go into quick match and go play them and test them out a little bit more before we jump in. Also, I would like to just like talk through this. We don't have a whole lot of votes right now. We have we're floating right around 50, but this is actually helping us figure out how best to serve you guys through getting you content that you want and that we want at the same time. So we say, hey, let's narrow it down to this and just let you guys choose. So this is a really great opportunity for you guys to kind of help participate in the show a little bit more and be able to do that for free. So that being said, let's move on. We had a few emails this week that we've got, and none of them were really too pertinent to the discussion that we wanted to cover this week, but keep them coming. We're going to email you back and we're going to get some more discussion going with you guys as to what you're looking for, or we're going to put them on the docket as future episodes that we want to feature. We're going to put those in our idea generation doc, which we have a lot of stuff in there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep the emails coming. It's another great way to get in touch with us. Let us know how we're doing with the show, what you would like to see, any feedback you would like to give us, or just if you'd like to introduce yourself. If you'd like to let us know who you are, what you do, if it's pertinent to what we do. We've had a few people that have already reached out to us to tell us who they are, how they're involved with the industry. We love all this stuff. We love meeting some of our listeners, especially if you create your own content or if you're associated with any video gaming company or any community. You run some of these communities. You're part of the Reddit Overwatch subreddit and stuff. Like any of these guys, if you are related to Overwatch and would like to let us know who you are, it's a great way, emailing us or writing a little review. Do that.
Yeah, but thanks again for those emails. And again, you can email us over at omniclabpodcast@gmail.com. We have one iTunes review this week coming from Mr. Christopher Mario on June 28th. He says, great podcast. I've been listening to them all over the past day or so. You guys have great chemistry. Love the insight. It's helping me to become a better player. Just one tip, lower the intro outro music because it blasts my eardrums compared to the overall volume of the voices, which is perfect. Can't wait for more episodes.
That is my bad. I am sorry, Christopher. I am a rock fan, and I've been listening to a lot of AC/DC, Led Zeppelin over the years. A lot of really loud music. I promise I'll tone it down a little bit, okay?
Yep, and this is really, really good weaving of special thanks, giving us the iTunes review, and also giving us some suggestions to improve the show. We've also had a few episodes in the past that have been mostly my fault of not having some issues on our recording side, even though the live stream relatively goes untouched as far as operation, because that's on Andres' end, but the recording on my end sometimes gets a little wonky, and then I'm still getting used to this new microphone, trying to run it on a laptop, which is not necessarily ideal. So let's get into the helpful links of the week real quick, and then we'll close out the show. So first of all, the helpful links that I have here is countering popular heroes. There's a YouTube video that has a really, really helpful section on how to counter them. And I've also included a hero counters cheat sheet link for a Redditor that basically posted a really cool image that you can see 3 other characters for every character that will help you kind of say, okay, this character is a problem. What should I try playing against them? It's really, really helpful. And then there are some map shortcuts video that I've also put in there, as well as some tips for playing King of the Hill from our friends over at Cynical Nerds. And our content creator shout out of the week is the League of Overwatchers Discord server. Head over there at discord.me/LOO if you want to get some more content. You can find some more content creators making podcasts, making videos, and also making websites. You can go check out there. And special props to Pronto Gaming for making a really great link that Andres sent me this week on how to basically improve in Overwatch before you even start playing. Talking about decision making and some really other cool stuff. Andres, did you want to comment a little bit more on that video since you got a chance to look at this one?
Sorry. I was checking over here on our chat. What were you talking about?
It was the Pronto Gaming video about decision making in Overwatch that you sent me?
Oh yes, that video is actually really good. Sorry, I should have been paying attention. But yes, I posted this on our team Discord, and I also posted it on the Omnic Lab Discord. It's a pro player talking about the decision making that goes into like in the middle of the battlefield. He talks about taking the first 15 seconds to like really assess who your key targets are and how your team should engage the battle. And he also talks about um, saving up ults and using them adequately. And I really think that becomes really more important as your team starts getting a little better. I have started noticing with our team where we're really good at coordinating, moving in together and backing out together now, but we are still not that good at creating a plan kind of like in a pinch as soon as we're about to engage the battle. And sometimes this results in very hectic battles where not everyone knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing. While if you were, for example, to say, all right, guys, we're going to go for Mercy, then McCree, and then we want our Winston to just focus on the Widowmaker to buy us some breathing room. And you do this, 15 seconds before you make the call to go and go in. Same
Honestly,
with
I'd really like for us to do an episode on featuring a little bit of decision making within Overwatch, because this is really good.
Yeah, it's a little more advanced for sure. Like it won't come in handy unless you're playing with a team that, especially a
Right.
team you've been playing constantly with. But I think especially for competitive play, it's a very, very worthwhile topic. Same with the ultimates. Like we found that with our team, sometimes we'll do the Zarya ult, and then everyone will unleash their ults, and it works, right? It wipes the enemy team, but it's almost like overkill. Like we just
It
needed
really is.
we
Yeah.
needed basically like 2 ultimates and then just use like our regular abilities, and we could have wiped the team, and then we could have saved the other 4 ults for the next battle where the enemy team is gonna come at you with their ults. So it's kind of like that line of thinking, coordinating and really like saving things for the right moments and executing things the right way and putting everyone in the same page, but in the middle of the battlefield. This is not being prep work or anything, but this is like in the middle of the fray. Let's make a plan so that the shot color is alleviated a little bit and like everyone kind of knows what is going on. So check it out. It's very worthwhile.
All right, so let's wrap things up for the show. We'll let you know where you can find us. You can find us over at Twitter at Omnic Lab. You can find us on Facebook at Omnic Lab. You can also find our Discord at discord.me/Omnic Lab. You have to type that into your browser, not into your Discord server. I actually just found this out this week that you can't do it in Discord. You have to go to your browser, type in discord.me/Omnic Lab, and it'll launch you to our Discord. As stated before, you can find our email at omniclabpodcast@gmail.com. You can find our show anywhere that you would like to if you're trying to share it with friends on iTunes, Google Play Music, and even any of the Android App Store apps, including Stitcher. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, like our wonderful scientists, Brian K., Blackbird, and Eric, I totally forgot the third one off the top of my head. I've been doing this. Yeah, it's Eric S. Yeah, I was right. Okay. And you can go and support us over at patreon.com/Omnic Lab. Again, up until July 1st is your cutoff date for the rewards from June. And if you want to check out all of the show notes, you can go to the website and click the link there, or you can check out the link for the extended show notes on Google Docs at the bottom of our show notes. If you'd like to watch us live, come over to twitch.tv/Omnic Lab, and we record roughly around 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday night. Andres, where can folks find you?
Personally, you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You can also find me streaming in this same channel. I've been streaming some of my team practices and also some casual games with friends and roommates and some other listeners. We'll definitely be streaming a lot more as competitive kind of like ramps up. So stay tuned for that. Also, check out my Hearthstone podcast, Coin Concede. We go live on Tuesdays at 11 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Pacific if you're on the West Coast. Check that out. We've had a ton of cool guests as well as Rob.
I just
Actually,
said Sidonia.
Yeah, we just had Sidonia, a really good player. So check that out, and also check out Rob's one. I'll let you take this one on, but I actually wanted to bring this up at the top of the show, but I totally forgot. Rob just had Young Woo in his Hearthstone podcast, and it was a very, very, very good episode. I recommend everyone who is into Blizzard in general to check out this episode. Because he not only talks about Hearthstone, but he talks about working,
philosophy.
the company and what the way that they think over there, and even a little bit of insider information of if that's kind of like the place where you want to end up, how to maybe get a job over there or how to get an in. So it was super interesting, super insightful. I recommend everyone to check out that interview. But back to you, Rob. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks, Andres. I appreciate it. Yeah, we actually didn't even know we were getting Yang up until that, but you have to listen to the show because it's a really funny story. We made sure to let the listeners know that we didn't know it was going to be Yang Wu. And for those of you non-Blizzard people, non-Hearthstone people, the Yang Wu is actually the head game producer for Blizzard Entertainment's Hearthstone franchise. So it's very cool to actually sit down and talk with him and get a little bit of the insight into their donut philosophy. Which actually came up at the top of the show. You guys will enjoy that. So that's over at vellenschosen.com. And Andres, I'll share this with you. Our numbers for that podcast dropped so hard because everybody went over to YouTube to watch the VOD, and we have like a ridiculous disparity in our downloads because of it. So I thought that was really funny.
Well, it makes me glad that at least people went somewhere else to try to look for the episode.
Yeah, we even made it on the front page of Hearthstone and on Reddit for a little while on Hearthstone subreddit. So that was pretty neat.
Nice.
But I'm over at Twitter at NotRob and Facebook.com/NotRobMedia is where you can find me goofing off with some of my photography. I'll be moving to Japan at the end of July. So you guys will be able to potentially see me editing some really cool pictures to some shrines or to the beach. I just got my placement city. I will be in Hakari, or Hakira. I think that's how you, or Akri. Yeah. And it's a really cool city. It actually uses the kanji for the symbol of light. So I'm guessing it has a lot of really cool lights there. You can also find me at Twitch when I do stream. It's going to be very minimal, and it'll be over probably just Hearthstone at Not Rob May on Twitch. And that is it for our episode, guys. Oh, I almost forgot. Brian Kotorski, scientist supporter that he is telling us, guys, don't forget about the game night. Guys, we have a game night. This is our amazing privilege that our Patreons were able to sponsor us. Next Thursday night, post-show, right after the show, if you're on Omnic Lab, come into our Discord 15 minutes after the show, and we will start a game night. We're going to do maybe casting. We'll see how many people show up. And if you want to jump in, we can even help those of you like Dialis Dev who need to figure out how to get onto the NA server as a EU player. If you can make it, we'll love to have you. We'll try to get you in there with us. And fret not if you can't make it. Just jump into Discord. We'll love to play with you sometime. I played a few games with some of our listeners, and I even found some really cool people I've met in solo queue. And don't forget about our sweet merch over at shop.spreadshirt.com/Omnic Lab. And that is also on our website if you just click the shop tab. Get some sweet shirts for the summer, and don't be a lab rat, be a scientist. We'll see you guys next week. It's been great hanging with you.
I have nothing more to teach you. The rest